Hi, my name is Martins, and now we'll move from games to finance, something like really boring, right? And I want to talk to you about Ethereum, about smart contracts, and what it all means in terms of finance, for the finance startups, for finance companies, for finance solutions on blockchain, right? Why Ethereum? Why smart contracts? Because there are so many finance companies starting up, right? And many of them, maybe even most of them, go to Ethereum. Why do they do it? Because they believe in the smart contract technology, right? The smart contract principles. However, we want to examine that in more detail to see what's all about and how it really happens and what really happens, right? So it will be really a pragmatic view of what's happening, right? So first of all, we have to understand whether those smart contracts are really so smart, because there are so many guys going and talking that finance technologies, they have to do the smart contracts, and then all the payments, all the financing operations will happen, and will just happen automatically, everything. But that's not really the case, right? That's not really the case, because the thing is, and this is a huge thing in fintech area, that smart contracts can't guarantee automatic fulfillment, right? I have heard so many guys come up and say, yeah, we'll do this fintech startup on blockchain, and we'll do this tremendous thing. And when I ask, okay, how will you do it? Like, what's the technical ground? How will you do it? They just say, smart contracts will take care of that, somehow, like magic, right? But in reality, it doesn't happen like that. They don't really guarantee those automatic fulfillment. So I'll talk a bit why is that, right? Just to make sure that we are on the same page, right? Okay, if you look at the smart contract, it's actually like a POS terminal, right? It's a POS terminal, most likely with two methods: send box or send a message, receive box, receive a message, right? That's your smart contract over there, right? And what happens is, if this nice lady wants to lend money to that gentleman over there, she has the money, right? She wants to lend it. So what is she doing? She puts that money into the smart contract, right? She puts it in that POS terminal. And then what happens is that you never borrow to keep money in a smart contract, right? That would be the most stupid thing you could do. You borrow because you want to spend that money, right? So what's actually the nice gentleman over here, what he most likely is going to do, he's going to take that box out of the POS terminal and use it as ever he pleases. Maybe he'll buy a beer, but I hope he will buy something for his company, invest, and make some bigger things, right? So if this is a lending situation, or say insurance situations like that in fintech world, where one party gives money to another party, expecting a return of money later on. What happens after some time when the lady wants to receive the money back, or when the guy has to pay the money back, right? Smart contract can't fulfill, because the smart contract, the POS terminal is empty. So it cannot send out money back to the lady, because it's just empty, right? So to actually fulfill that thing, the guy has to put the money back in the POS terminal, he has to put the box back in the POS terminal, and then the lady can get it, right? So what it means, and this is a huge thing for fintech, what it means is that you can't really do it, or you can't guarantee that just because there are two parties, everything will happen automatically, right? And why is that? It's because smart contract has its limitations, and smart contract cannot access other accounts, or not all of the other accounts on crypto. It cannot access fiat accounts, right? It cannot access legal things, right? If you're doing a fintech in a business-to-business fintech, it cannot make legal actions against a business that is not willing to pay back his loan, right? Say, fill up for a bankruptcy or something. And it definitely can't liquidate assets. In many cases, when you go bankrupt, you have to liquidate assets to pay back your debt, right? And smart contract can't do it. So what does it mean? It means that when you are in a fintech industry and you want to build your fintech on a blockchain, it's not just smart contracts that you have to think about. It's something more, right? It's like this black box, right? So you have to think of something more. How will you add on top of the smart contract to make sure that your idea works, and that it actually works in 2018 rather than in 2025 or 2030, right? So what I want to tell you how we at Debitum Network, what is the black box of our solution, and how we actually made the journey towards that black box, right? Because I think the journey sometimes is even more interesting than the end result. So I'll tell about that. What do we do so that you understand the context? We are doing business borrowing. We are allowing unbankable businesses, small, medium unbankable businesses, to get that needed financing, right? Okay, so we have been in financing business for some time. So we kind of understand how financing works. What we believe how financing works is that there is this company that wants to get finance, and then there is this incumbent traditional bank or some other finance current company that does a lot of processes, right? It assesses risks, verifies, insures, provides money. If something goes wrong, ensures that the debt is collected, maybe resell it to the secondary market or something like that, right? And when we want to move something to a blockchain, right? Truly, if we want to move something to a blockchain, not just use blockchain as our database or something. When we truly want to move something to a blockchain, we want to get out of the middleman, right? So then it means we want to get rid of that bank, of that financial institution. We want to get rid of that. So what do we do then? And how we thought about it, we looked at this process and we understood, okay, we need to unlock the process. We need to unlock the process, but we still have to do all the steps. There are people out there saying that, you know, when you put it on a blockchain, you don't need like risk management because risk assessment, because it will be done automatically by some algorithms or something, right? But exactly if you say it will be done automatically, it means that you still need it. You will just perform it automatically, right? So the process is still there, and all the steps are still there. You just can choose whether you do them manually or automatically. And when you split it up in this process steps, what you can do, you can allow various actors, some local, some global, to actually work on that process and decentralize the whole process by providing different services in different steps of the process. And that actually also solves the things that smart contract is not, doesn't guarantee automatic fulfillment, because in your process, you design that there is a debt collection step, and if something goes wrong with that smart contract, if it's not automatically filled, you can move it on to the smart contract of debt collection, etc. So pragmatically thinking, when you look pragmatically at fintech, and if you want to make sure that it works in 2018, not in 2030, you have to think about the process and you have to split it up. Now, we made this journey, we thought about it, we thought how to do it from the business perspective, and then we thought, okay, we have to also look at the technical perspective, because just saying something will happen doesn't really matter if you don't know how will you do it, right? So we thought, okay, technically, what you do, you don't have one smart contract between the investor and the borrower, that many people tend to think that it's kind of the right way. I really disagree. I am that guy that doesn't like to agree with people. So I disagree with that, and I think that if you look at the process with many steps, that you actually have to have many smart contracts, and that's what we do. And you have to have a smart contract for each and every step of that business process. And they all should be interlinked. They all should be most likely automatically starting each other up, etc. Right? So, for example, if your borrower doesn't bring you back money, and the smart contract of investment, of borrowing and investment, doesn't clear it up and doesn't doesn't return money to the lender, it automatically starts a debt collection smart contracts and offers debt collecting entities to get into those smart contracts and do debt collection in the real world, in the real physical world. Because unfortunately, unless before crypto becomes mainstream, it will not be possible to just operate in a crypto or blockchain world, right? You have to operate in a physical world as well. Therefore, that's the way you do it. You start up a debt collection smart contract. There is an actual debt collection company, say in Ukraine, in Germany, in Saudi Arabia, or wherever else, and they actually do their physical work based to their local needs, right? Because there are very, very different approaches in each and every country, right? In some countries, you can get bankruptcy act in like 5 days. In some countries, you have to go through very long and hard legal procedures that will take a year or maybe more. So you have to be special in that area. And then when you think about it, that all of the steps are on the blockchain, all of those steps are in smart contract, of course, you have to access all that information somehow, right? You have to have a user interface. And okay, you can have kind of our user interface, and that's kind of nice enough. But what it also means, it goes that one step further, and it actually allows for anyone else to make his own portal with the same functionality, accessing these smart contracts and blockchain and information in them because it's open source, unless if those users choose to go to this new portal. And this, in my opinion, is a true example of decentralization, and that's true example how you can decentralize fintech, how you can do it in a business process approach, how you can make sure that it actually multiplies when you make it open source and let it go. And I think that is the true meaning of what has to be done when you build an ICO company, or when you build a company that is based on a public network, right? So what I want you to take with you from what I was talking today, I want you to take a knowledge that it's not just enough to have an idea, and it's not just enough to use existing smart contract or whatever else, other features from blockchain technology. You have to understand and you have to clearly indicate what is the added value that you will bring there, right? What's your black box of the solution? And say, if you want to have a new project or existing project, you have to formulate that additional value, and most likely when you pitch or when you explain, when you show it, that's the value that you have to show and clearly indicate to everyone, because that is actually the thing that will differentiate your nice idea from actually working solution that works from day one rather than someday, somewhere when it will become more mainstream. And that's unfortunately the truth. Okay.